Jay, very active, 6'3", in outstanding shape, top-notch mountain biker, competitive border cross snowboarder, rock climbing. We wish he were a little better student, but he was doing passably well. He was a senior at University of Puget Sound, very gregarious. I think he would have wound up being in VP for sales, an organization, just that kind of personality. I was trying to think of a way of kind of honoring Jay, and he loved the backcountry in back of Whistler Blackcomb. So I saved some of his ashes and went up to spread them, and wound up in the backcountry with a Japanese couple who was on their honeymoon and doing some backcountry skiing and didn't speak any English, and I don't speak Japanese very well. So I asked if I could take a picture of them, and they go, you know, yeah. So I took a picture, then they saw I was doing something, and they asked if they could take my picture, and I said yes. And as I was sprinkling my son's ashes, I said, these are my son's ashes who was shot. And they were smiling and doing this the whole time because they didn't have an idea what was going on. And at first I thought, this is just totally bizarre, and then later I thought, this is really meaningful because there were some other people there, and very difficult to do. We heard about what had happened to our son. It was about 7:30 on Memorial Day. A chaplain showed up at our door, and I had met him before, so I knew right away Jay was dead. I thought he probably died in a river rafting accident because he and his friends were rafting the day before, and he called us and said that he wouldn't be able to make it home for dinner and he was going to go to a party afterwards. So the chaplain came in, and we just, like I said, we just couldn't believe it. It was just stunning. I mean, we knew. Part of the problem with Jay was he didn't have his wallet on him, so they were not able to issue a positive ID, so we were not able to get either say goodbye to him or really view him for about a week, because he was a John Doe until the medical examiners were through doing their work, and he was shot in Briar, an upscale neighborhood in Briar, at some friend's house that we know the family. He was with his high school and some college friends. They were having a black and white party where they get dressed up in, you know, formal or semi-formal gear, and part of the reason is that they don't have people crashing it who aren't, you know, who are liable to be carrying guns or something. There was some people that showed up outside and started fighting themselves. There were two groups of young men that decided they want to duke it out. They wound up in front of this place. There was a loud ruckus. Everybody ran out from the party. And then somebody started shooting a gun. They all ran back in the party, and it turned out that our son Jay had been shot twice. Once in the chest and then once in the groin. He died, was pronounced dead about 2 hours later. I'm sure he came close to bleeding out in the flower bed there. But what's interesting is this is a very, you know, upper middle class neighborhood. The boy who was charged with murdering our son, we've gotten to his family a little bit. They're, you know, middle class, upper middle class. He worked in a Starbucks. So I don't think there's a lot of discussion where we are up in Mukilteo and Everett about whether there's gangs or whether there's not gangs, and my counsel has been, it really is immaterial. There are young kids, 18, who are really disenfranchised, and with a third of the families in Washington owning firearms, and probably 20% of them who are irresponsible gun owners where their guns aren't locked up, it can happen anywhere. And it does happen anywhere. And it's just a tragedy. It's hard for me. I have hunted in the past. I raised retrievers. When we had kids, we got rid of all the rifles because I didn't want to have that responsibility with kids around, whether to have them gun locks or whatever. It's also devastating for the family, the young man who shot our son. They're going to wind up spending probably $250,000 on his defense. their son has been in jail. He's out. If he's convicted, he'll be 20 plus years. So it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for everybody. Well, a lot of people have asked about, what I think about gun violence, and let me back up. I spent a lot of time in Canada. In Canada, it's as easy to get a gun as it is down here, basically, but they're not blowing each other away. I spent a lot of time in Europe. You can get guns all over the place. They're not blowing people away. There's something in our culture that has, with a certain segment, where they have no reverence for life. It's like it's a video game, only there's no reset when that bullet's fired. So I think part of it is whether you're, I've dealt with gangs before. My dad owned a very large company in an industrial part of LA. I'm used to seeing Asian gangs and black gangs and Chicano gangs who are extorting money, running prostitutes and drugs and all that. That isn't what's up here. In good old Washington or Briar or Bellevue or Kent, you've got kids that for one reason or another have checked out. And the kids at school know who these folks are. And it's just so easy to get a gun, and that's not going to change. And there are so many irresponsible gun owners, probably 20%, who leave the guns out, don't have safety locks, and that's just an accident waiting to happen.